Hey, it's Netta, and I'm so excited to tell you that my brand new book, Break Free from Sugar Cravings, is available now on Amazon. If you're struggling with sugar cravings and emotional eating, and you want step-by-step guidance to know exactly what to do so that you can feel confident around food again, go buy my book. Look for Break Free from Sugar Cravings on Amazon in most countries. Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast. The podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman. And today I'm talking with Zuzu, a holistic healthcare practitioner, and we get into a deep conversation about the link between gut health and sugar. I love how Zuzu explains what's really happening in your body when you crave sugar and what the connection is between bloating, constipation, and other digestive issues to do with gut health and sugar cravings. We'll get to my chat with Zuzu in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to sugarcravingsfree.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at sugarcravingsfree.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at sugarcravingsfree.com. And on social media, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. All right, let's get to my chat with Zuzu. So I'm talking today with Zuzu, and can you tell us where you grew up and what you used to eat when you were a child?
Sure. Well, I grew up in the really big, just kidding, tiny city called Wind Lake in Wisconsin. So I grew up on a lake in Wind Lake, and there was mostly boys. I had 2 girlfriends that lived in the areas. We just grew up in a really small town, and we played outside. And I have to tell you, we ate a lot of tomatoes from our neighbors' gardens. So we just grew up grabbing, green onions out of the garden and radishes. Oh my gosh, I still have radishes right here. I'm a radish fanatic. But anyhow, so I was hungry, so I grabbed some radishes. And so we just grew up. And when I grew up, my parents had started a sign company. And so they owned a sign company. So you didn't have a lot of extra money. And so my mom would go shopping, whatever it was, when they would go once or twice every couple of months. But oh my gosh, when she came home from shopping and had produce, I would eat all of it right away. I was like, oh my gosh, I love apples and oranges and bananas and grapes and, cauliflower and all the, cucumbers. I was just so excited for produce, and I had no idea why. I just loved it so much. And so when I got married, I made sure we always had produce because I had to wait until we got paid to get some produce. And when I was married, I was like, and when I started my own family, I was like, nope, I want produce on the table all the time because that was always my favorite thing. So
Yeah, fantastic. And was that catching? Did your husband and kids catch on to the
Oh
produce.
yeah. Yeah, because and I teach a lot of parents and a lot of homeschool groups. And my biggest thing is, hey, honey, if it's not in the house, they're not going to eat it. So this whole, oh, my child is picky. Oh, I'm sorry, mom, that's your issue. That's not the child's issue. It becomes a what have you exposed them to? And I'm an expert at this because I own two daycare centers. And so all of these hundreds of children that were in our care, they literally grew up at our daycare centers with gardens outside, and they planted the seeds and they harvested the plants and they brought them in and they ate them. And so if the children were never exposed, to produce or to whatever it might be different, then they won't eat it. And so I've worked with so many children, helping them overcome the nervousness about fruits and vegetables. But quite honestly, if the parents aren't eating it, the kids aren't going to eat it either. So it's like, when you have a parent who's like, oh yeah, my kid's really picky, I'm like, so how picky are you? I mean, I can't say that and be sassy, but I'm like, so what's on your dinner plate? Like, do you not like your broccoli or your Brussels sprouts? So we just really encourage, and the diversity of fiber is so important to your microbiome. So we were
Yeah.
always really, really healthy at our daycares and really encouraged a lot of new food tasting. So it was fun. It was worth it.
It's great for kids to normalize real whole foods and variety and know where their food comes from.
Yes, I mean, it's terrible that they give red delicious apples to schools. That's the worst apple out there. I mean, if you like them, whatever, but I'm like, oh, a Fiji or a Gala or a little Honey Crisp. Oh, now that child is hooked for life on an apple. So I'm always like, feed your children like good food. Like fast food can be. I just did a whole class on fast food, and it was all like, big bowl of all your fruits and vegetables. I mean, your fruits, and then in the fridge you have vegetables already cut up and some dip made, and your trail mix and your fruit roll-ups and your popcorn, and like you can control fast food in your car and in your home just with a little bit of preparation. So yeah.
Yeah, and that begs the question, why does food have to be fast?
Yeah, thank you. Because I think if you're asking me my professional question,
Sure.
and having many, many, many children, fast food is because people are their life is wound so fast that everything they do is fast, right? They get up in the morning is they're right into cortisol and they're drinking coffee right away. And I'm like, okay, now we automatically know there's an issue if you wake up, and you're going right for the coffee. And so that's when we go back to let's look at the blood sugar. And I love that this is like, how do you avoid sugar? Because I'm so into that. Like, let's look at what's going on physiologically with the body. Like, let's look at physically what's going on right now so that we can crave that. Because if someone's craving sugar, they're not craving sugar. Human beings never, never, never can even crave sugar because we aren't designed to live on sugar. We are designed to use glucose to to fuel our body, like carbohydrates to fuel our body, but carbohydrates are found in all your vegetables as well. And there's no sugar, well, very low sugar in any vegetables. And so I think if parents knew, and if we all realize that we can call it fast food because we're all so rushed all the time, but if we just slow down a little bit, then we can actually digest our food better, right? If we're doing even some stretching before you eat, do some yoga for your digestion, just move that small intestine, open up that ileocecal valve, get it ready because you have more food coming down, and make sure the pyloric sphincter is spitting all its yummies into the small intestine. Like, as we move our body and we do slow it down, digestion is improved, brain chemistry is improved, you have more acetylcholine in the stomach, and that's what relaxes you to enjoy a good meal. So that's probably the key. Netta, that's probably it, is that people are so stressed out and therefore they're not making enough acetylcholine. And so their digestion is not functioning well because you need acetylcholine to be made for proper digestion and to calm the self down. So I bet you it's because we're just so wired by obviously all the electromagnetic frequencies and the food we're eating that we aren't even making enough of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine to actually help us process. There you go. That's Karen's professional opinion.
Yeah, totally. And that term that you just said, can you explain what it is? How is that stomach acid or something else?
Oh, it's actually something different. I'm glad you asked. So So the nervous system that controls the whole body. So as far as I'm concerned, if the nervous system is doing great, you are going to do great until the day you die, like phenomenal. Because the nervous system, think about it. You have this 3 to 4, pound brain, and it's sitting on a 2 ounce atlas. You have 31 sets of nerves that come down, and it's shooting out information, blood and information to all the organs, glands, and tissues. It's helping to orchestrate that through myelin sheath made out of fat. And so the nervous system makes neurotransmitters, and acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter. It's like you've heard of dopamine and serotonin and GABA.
Yeah.
Those are also norepinephrine, right? And epinephrine. You've heard these, and those are all just neurotransmitters, and they're made by the nervous system, where hormones are made by the endocrine system. And so acetylcholine is that magical relaxing, you're going to digest your food and plan the next reunion, like everything's going to be okay. That's the nervous system's transmitter, acetylcholine, where like GABA is another transmitter, and that is actually made primarily in the gut as well. And that GABA is actually in charge of all the electricity in the body. So if you've had like Tourette's or epilepsy or any kind of shaking, extra white chromosomes, anything at all, face trembling that you need to like calm the electrical systems of the body, that's GABA. And we're on a healthy gut podcast right now, GABA is made in the gut. And here's the key: GABA can only be made if two things are happening in your gut. Number one, you have a diverse amount of microbiome and bacteria. And number two, that you have the proper like pH. And so it can be really hard to make GABA, which is why we have so many issues after what happened during the COVID and with the COVID jabs, was that we have so many people who've been washing their bodies with antibacterial soaps, and they're spraying it on everything, and they sanitize their lives, which was terrible because that didn't need to happen. And now we ruined our bacterium throughout our whole body. So our vaginal bacteria is off. So many women are having issues with vaginal discharges and different issues vaginally because they don't have a balanced microbiome there anymore. The skin is having an issue. And the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway that I've seen is so many children and adults are now having seizures and tremors, and it's because we got rid of our GABA. And you can restore it, but yeah, neurotransmitters are really cool because they play a really big role in our lives and in digestion.
Yeah, and we hardly ever hear about them as regular consumers, who don't have that expertise that you have. So, okay, so it sounds like everything's connected, but I want to know what sugar has to do with it.
Yes, I was hoping we talk about sugar. So and this is the number one thing for anybody who's listening or watching, is to realize our amazing bodies, which I believe this body is created in the image of a God, right? I do. Not that I'm puffing myself up. I'm just saying this is pretty cool, like that I get this. I don't look like a pig or a cow or anything else. I look like this, right? And pigs have pigs and cows have cows and rabbits have rabbits. So I just think I'm created in the image of something that knew what they were doing. And I ended up on a planet with a bunch of produce. Like, how awesome is that, right? I'm such a produce lover. And so sugar, our bodies, drum roll please, repeat the drum roll, was our bodies are designed to have 1 teaspoon of sugar in our bloodstreams at all time. 1 teaspoon.
Yeah.
That is not a lot of sugar. You look at a piece of bread, you eat a piece of bread, you have 3 teaspoons. And the reason is because people just think of sugar as sugar, but we're here to tell you that's not sugar. I mean, that's sugar, white sugar, brown sugar, rapadura sugar, whatever. But grain turns into sugar. So if you're eating grain, you are consuming sugars because starches turn into sugars. So if you look at the little wheat berry, right? You have the bran on the outside, and inside you have the germ. And in the germ, that's where all your nutrients are. Your vitamins and minerals are all in the germ. That bran makes you poop. And then the starch, right? The S is everything else is starch. That is simply energy. So that when you plant that little wheat kernel, you can now grow a whole, stalk of wheat. And so people just don't realize that when you eat grain, I don't care if you sang to it in your backyard and it's all organic and sprouted and all that, you're still eating sugar, which if you have cancer, candida, or parasites, we don't want to do that because that feeds cancer, feeds parasites, and feeds candida. So a sugar-free diet, whether you're diabetic or not, I think is very beneficial. All of our retreat attendees, anybody who eats with us, I don't use grain. I'll use grain once in a while, make it maybe twice a year. I'll make my homemade bread because we made thousands of loaves. I even had a company baking all my bread and distributing around America.
Wow.
But so I make great homemade wheat bread, but I haven't made it probably in 2 years. I'm just going to make it when my son comes home because we all love it. But anyhow, but like sugar isn't it's not necessary when you have carbohydrates all around you in the foods that we naturally just consume.
Right, from
So,
other sources. Yeah, from other sources.
mhm,
Because, you know, we
mhm,
hear, you know, sugar, your body ha needs sugar to function. And it's like, no, it doesn't, it doesn't need the white sugar or whatever
yeah,
other, right? It
yeah.
needs glucose, and even that is, you know, up for debate. But yeah, you can get the glucose from other sources than the white sugar.
Well, everything has, I mean, all the plants behind me have carbohydrates, I mean, it's the fuel for our bodies, our plants. That's what we were designed. We have a very long intestinal system, and that long intestinal system is only found in vegetable eating animals, right? Like that is a lion has a very short intestinal system. And so ours are about seven, they can be 7 feet, they can be 3 times our height. So we can have a 21 foot to 24 foot intestinal hose. We're a hoser, right?
Yeah.
Beginning of the hose, end of the hose, right? So we're these big hosers. And I used to go on stage and I had this 25-foot Christmas light and I would wrap it around my body and I'd look at my intestine. It's
Yeah,
just so fun to explain it. And
that's a
that,
good way.
yeah, it's just great. And we're designed to eat plants. We only have a couple, let's cut through the, meat and rip it. We just aren't born with the same scissor count. We're not born with that. And so when people are like, oh, I'm gonna go eat animals the rest of my life, I'm like, well, number one, you can't because you need fiber. And if you don't have any fiber, you'll have a screwed up microbiome the rest of your life. Your prostate cancer is I mean, you must have fibers in the body. You cannot function without it. You can, not healthy. And so there's a time and a place, but yeah, the fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds are literally what our bodies are designed to use. I don't have a problem with people eating animals by any means. There's a half a cow in my freezer because my husband loves it, and some of my kids still will definitely eat some meat, but it's from our farm in Arkansas, 1,300 acres, and it's the best beef you'll ever eat. I really should be selling it. But I think people are just becoming aware of their food. Then,
Yeah,
and when they start eating that kind of a diet, when they get off of sugar, your whole life is going to change. And so you
yeah.
don't crave, and you can make it. If you kill candida, you won't crave sugar anymore. If you get rid of your cancer, which you can do, I've helped thousands of people get rid of cancer. And when you don't have the microorganisms that are wanting you to eat sugar, when they're not in charge of your body anymore, because you've killed them off or you starved them, then you won't be craving sugar.
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews, and when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar.
I don't know about you. You probably have gotten to this point because you've been doing this as well. But I can't even eat like a whole apple. There's no way. Like a honey
Yeah,
crisp apple, so delicious. I eat half of it. I'm like, here, honey, a
right.
banana out the door on a banana. Like I
Yeah.
can maybe take a bite of a banana. Like, oh my gosh, it's just you just don't crave it anymore. It isn't.
Totally, totally. Yes, that has been my experience as well. And,
Yeah.
you know, I want to touch on gut health because I talk a lot about that. I teach people how to make their own fermented foods and drinks. That's how I eat my vegetables because I have trouble digesting them in any other form. So, what is the connection between sugar, consumption of sugar, and gut health?
Oh, 100% connection because so sugar does two things. Number one, it is not healthy for your gut to consume a lot of sugar. Some, yes. But the biggest thing, and this is why, remember how we started talking about neurotransmitters? This is why it affects your gut health. So the actual sugar cane, and I'm sure you've explained that, but remember, if you see sugar on something, never buy it. That is a genetically modified beet sugar you never want to consume. If you're going to buy something with sugar in it, make sure it says cane sugar. It must have two words. If it says sugar, get rid of it. Cane sugar, okay, that's fine. Cane sugar is not going to hurt your gut. It's not. It's actually not going to hurt your gut. What it's going to do if you have too much of the sugar is sugar destroys the myelin sheath of the nervous system. So we're going to go back to the nervous system because like the nervous system controls everything. So if you think about if here's a pen, right? And you see that little black ink, that ink in the black pen, right? That's your nerve and it's shooting through myelin sheath. Well, the pen is made of oil, all your fats. And so avocados and coconut oil and walnuts and chia seeds and hemp seeds and oh my gosh, of course, some coconut oil, I said coconut oil, olive oil, tea seed oil, whatever. Those are all phenomenal oils. And so you're going to build a really strong, healthy sheath, myelin sheath. The minute you start eating sugar, especially if you have more than that 1 teaspoon of sugar in the bloodstream, it's going to eat away the myelin sheath. That exposes the nerve. Well, now the body has to fix that myelin sheath, and that matters a lot more than your nerves functioning. And if you think about the body as a building factory where we take amino acids to make a protein, so you need different amino acids linked together to make a protein, just like letters make a word. ERIC is my son. Now I have the word Eric. Well, tryptophan and phenylene and methionine and tyrosine, whatever they are, and you're connecting those together. Now you're building a protein.
Mhm.
Well, all of your neurotransmitters, you need proteins to build them,
Yeah.
just like enzymes and anything else. And so the sugar itself isn't going to hurt you. What's going to hurt you is too much sugar is now eating the lining of the myelin sheath, which now the nerves aren't functioning. And then that acetylcholine that you need in the gut, you need to be happening. So you need it so you can be digesting properly. Sorry, I said that wrong, but you need to be digesting properly, isn't being made. So a cane sugar so in your lemonade, a little bit throughout the week or something, no one's gonna care. We're not writing home to mama all worried. Like we're not, ice cream, ice cream, and then dairy, because dairy's loaded with sugar. So ice cream and then your dairy and your breads and your pastas. Now we have an overload. And if your diet is anything even near the typical American diet, two things are wrong. You have way too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s, which is going to cause inflammation and all sorts of problems with your myelin sheath because those are omegas. And number two is we're going to have way too much sugar in the bloodstream. And
Yeah.
so constantly we have inflammation, constantly we have candida overgrowth. So you can have like itchy hair and watery eyes and low libido and they're lethargic and you have vaginal yeast infections or athlete's foot, all of that. You already know that because you follow this amazing woman. Anyhow, and so you know what happens when you have too much sugar in the bloodstream. And so it's so much more than just, oh, I'm going to have something with cane sugar. That's fine. It's when you have that and pasta at night and bread and cereal and milk and dairy and and then it's like your body's like, this isn't easy anymore.
I see. And for some of us, myself included, even a little bit of any type of sugar like cane sugar is the start of a very slippery slope. So we're better off without it at all.
You are, and you probably, it'd be really neat. I don't know if you've done any kind of neurotransmitter testing, but neurotransmitters are affected. It's like you probably are GABA dominant, which means you get a ton done. You're really organized. Like you're the lady everyone goes to, right? Because you are, you probably are, I can usually tell. And so
a bit.
you're this, yeah, you're this, but that means that your body runs on GABA, right? That is your neurotransmitter. If you're a little bit deficient in GABA, then what happens is the kryptonite. So any of you watching who's like, yeah, I'm like Zuzu, I'm like Netta, right? That's what I'm like. That's because you're GABA driven. The GABA folks is sugar. Any kind of sugar. We just sink. It can be one bite of a cookie. Here's a really quick tip. If you like, I run up and down stairs because I'm busy, I got lots to do. And I've raised my kids and build big buildings. And so we always have a lot of stairs. And if I took a bite of the cookie, that organic, sprouted, whatever we were doing, gluten-free down in our cafe, if I took a bite of that cookie, I had to walk up the stairs. I literally couldn't run. one freaking little cookie, right? Because that's how sensitive we are. So that's why, and I think that's great that you can sense that because some
Yeah.
people, they can have a little bit of that or something, but we don't promote sugar at all. We have a
Yeah.
sugar-free diet, especially during
Yeah.
all of our.
I mean, some people just that concept of a little bit of sugar just doesn't work for our brains. There's
Mhm.
no little bit possible.
Yeah.
We're better off with zero. But that I'm just saying that we're all different, and do you eat or make fermented foods and drinks? I'm curious.
Oh, a lot. Oh, I have for years and years and years. Yep. Yeah,
What do
I'm
you
actually
make?
teaching that later. Water kefirs and kombuchas and coconut kefirs, and then we've done all of the coconut yogurts, of course, and then all the different sauerkrauts. I think I have 7, 8 recipes of krauts that I have in my recipe book that I used to make in our places, and then I have kimchi, of course, and fermented soda. So we'll
Mhm.
make some fun fermented fruits and then turn those into just a sparkling drink with some lime. So
Yeah.
yeah, we love.
Yeah, lovely. Yes. Do you find that maybe not in the circles you move in, but in general, that those kinds of fermented foods and drinks are not very well known by the general public?
Yeah, and it's fun. It's funny you said that because we used to do these tasting safaris where we had 100 different raw foods that children could come through during an expo and they could try everything. And so it was a bigger deal. It was 100 different things they could try. And I had 4 or 5 different types of sauerkraut, and all the kids could try them. Kids love sauerkraut. Their parents just didn't know it. They've never bought it. And there was all stuff we made, like don't buy sauerkraut in a can, you guys. That doesn't count. And you know that. But like making sauerkraut so easy, right? And you let that ferment. I don't know where you're at because we used to do like 7 days, but I'm telling you, if you ferment over 21 days, the bacteria count is insane. I usually do mine almost between 30 and 40.
Yeah,
It melts in your mouth. It's like it's just digesting everything.
exactly.
And so yeah, the sauerkraut, I serve sauerkraut here so that everyone can taste it. And a recipe for all of you, my Karen's favorite lunch is a half of an avocado with a pile of sauerkraut and sprouts on the top. Ooh,
Wow.
it's so.
Yeah, I let mine go for 3 weeks, ferment for 3 weeks, and my kombucha ferments for like 2 months.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, yep.
Then there's no residual sugar because I don't like the
Yeah.
sweet taste.
Yeah, I don't love the sweet taste either.
Mm.
Except on a really hot day. Then I'll take a ferment because sometimes ours will ferment 7 to 10 days, and then I'll take some because it's so yummy on the hot day.
Yeah. Great, great. So you teach about not sugar specifically, but gut health. Is that right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do a lot with gut health. So I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner. And so I've been educating for decades. We've had students graduate since 2008. I've been teaching longer than that. But we actually have an online school of natural medicine called Holistic Health Educators. We're international. Our graduates speak 100 different languages. And that's what we do. So we actually certify professionals as holistic healthcare practitioners, therapeutic nutritional counselors, holistic health coaches, and then we have dozens of programs for parents and for homeschool. So we do a lot of education. And the gut is a very important thing to educate people about because if our gut lining has any kind of issue with it, we obviously are going to have an end result. So like if you had a stroke, I know you have leaky gut. 100% of the people who've ever had a stroke have leaky gut. If you have allergies, you have leaky gut. 100% of people with allergies have leaky gut. And the great thing is you can get rid of every single allergy on earth. Every single allergy, no matter how severe it is, you can eliminate that by working on the gut. And that's something that I'm hoping more people are catching on to because we do a lot of allergy testing and then we tell people to avoid something, but that's not fixing the gut and that's not fixing the problem. Then our immune system is going to be weaker and weaker and weaker because we've all these agents that are in our bloodstream that shouldn't be there because we have leaky gut. And instead of fixing the leaky gut, they're just telling you not to eat certain things. And so people don't realize that there's a lot of power in our bodies to heal that gut, which is the primary source of our joy, our happiness, our libido. It's our neurotransmitters. Like everything revolves around that gut, and that vagus nerve, which connects all of our major organs, is also connected to the gut. So if we lose our gut health, the rest of our life just chew. And on most of the podcasts, I share this saying because it makes people think a little bit, and that is a healthy man has many wishes. A sick man has one. So someone with a healthy gut can do anything and go anywhere. They're excited. They can go to Samoa and eat over there. They can go to France and taste and nibble on some things over there. It's going to be fine because they have a healthy gut and they have a liver. They know how to process toxins, right? So if they do eat something they're not used to eating, they don't have allergies anymore. And now it can get processed by the liver and we're good. Because it's fun to taste things. We all know that. However, if we have leaky gut and our gut issue has an issue, then we have a problem. So I'd love to touch on SIBO and SIMO and a couple of things with the gut. Do you want me to do that at all? What would you like me to talk about?
Well, can you just explain what you just said with the acronyms before we wrap up?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean the gut health or
Well, the
SIBO?
SIBO and the SIMO.
Yeah, because a lot of people get bloating and they eat fiber and people tell them eat more probiotics, eat more fiber, but you actually don't want that because people with a really severe bloating and diarrhea, they usually have what's called small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And this has everything to do with sugar. So when that ileocecal valve gets open and it won't close, that's what connects the small intestine to the colon, then little bacteria that are supposed to be in your colon, they just peek over into the small intestine and they're like, oh, it looks really good in there. So the bacteria comes in the small intestine and it starts eating all the sugars, but then the bacteria is gassing, creating off gassing, and that's what creates this bloating sensation and it gets you diarrhea. That's SIBO, so small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And there's a whole specific diet you can find out. But then there's also small intestinal methanogen overgrowth or methane overgrowth because archaea also live in the body and they're a single cell organism. They're not a bacteria. And they eat the gas from the bacteria.
Hmm.
So if you have constipation and bloating, you actually have SIMO. You have methane gas, literally methane gas built up in your gut. So small intestinal bacteria overgrowth untreated and diarrhea can lead to small intestinal methanogen overgrowth or methane overgrowth, which is then constipation. So in both of those, you really don't want to consume any sugar or any fiber at this point, no probiotics, none of it, even the fermented foods, just for those few weeks that we're killing off that overgrowth is what it is. And then getting that ileocecal valve to shut again. So there's massages you can do on the ileocecal valve. So although fermented vegetables are my very favorite, and I love them, the fermented green beans and the tomatoes and asparagus, like all of it is just amazing, melts in your mouth. There is a time when we don't want to consume that just for a period of time if we're needing to heal the gut.
Yeah.
Because having that overgrowth when we're trying to kill off some of that would be the only time that I'd really recommend not eating it. But
Wow.
yes.
Wow. I mean, that sounds, I'm following you, but I can imagine that a lot of people listening are feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now, because that is a lot of information and a lot of human biology that we don't necessarily know about as regular consumers, regular patients. If
Yeah.
you had one piece of advice for people, what would it be?
Just that, learn the body because you're the master of your body and don't let this scare you. Please, 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 everyone, don't let it scare you. There's so many people listening who have bloating that they cannot control. There are so many people who have bloating that they can't. There are so many people with constipation and they've tried everything, magnesium, everything, and it's actually not that. It's not the colon, right? We have this methane overgrowth. So I think even though it might sound scary and I use maybe too many big words and I'm terribly sorry about that. I didn't know. I don't know the audiences of all the podcasts that I'm on. I'm on so many of them, but I do know human beings want to learn and they want to be well. So the one piece of advice I would give anyone is learn where your body parts are so that you aren't afraid when you're feeling sick because many people put their hand over their stomach and it's actually over their abdomen because people don't realize the stomach is behind the rib cage on the left side. And I think when people know where their gallbladder is and where their duodenum is, and also duodenum, depending on what country we're in, but if we know where our organs are, then maybe when we have a backache, we would realize actually that's my kidneys and my adrenals. Or, so I think that would be my number one bit of advice is to learn your body well enough that you can start doing some self-diagnostic, just by learning how the organs function. And please do not go to Grok and ChatGPT for all that because they are so wrong on so many health things. That's one thing that we always talk about in the natural world. We're like, they don't understand SIBO or candida. I mean, they don't, and that's okay. People like we do, and there's so many blogs out there you can even on our websites. But yeah, we would love to help you. But please, if you can make you your top priority, your life will change.
Love that. Yeah, and you're speaking to a teacher, so I'm all for self-education, definitely. I will put your information with the show notes so people can find you and your website. And thank you so much, Zuzu. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Netta. Thank you for all you're doing for people. It's wonderful.
Yay. Gosh, so much to take in from Zuzu today. It's like there's no end to how much we can learn about our own bodies and our relationship with them. But here's my biggest takeaway from what Zuzu was talking about. Listen to your body, but even more than that, learn about your body so that you can listen to it and understand what it's telling you. Because the more you understand what's going on inside, the less scary it all becomes and the more empowered you're likely to feel. And this sense of empowerment is exactly what you'll learn to develop in the Freedom from Cravings Formula 12-week program. Because I created this program specifically for women over 50 to help you go deeper into your relationship with food, especially sugar, and also into your relationship with yourself. And so that you can get guidance and support to help you stop emotional eating, break free from sugar cravings, slim down, and feel more in control around food, and more empowered to know about your own body and your own health. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed so that you can live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly, feel confident in your food choices, and ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never have to feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. By the time you're 50 and over, you've spent decades looking after everybody else. And now it's your turn to take care of yourself. So let's chat about your specific needs and why you want to break free from cravings. To learn more about the Freedom from Cravings Formula program, go to sugarcravingsfree.com. And also, you'll find the link to book a free video chat with me with this episode in the show notes. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.